If you're new here, welcome to the Coffee and Crypto team. When everything feels bearish, usually rallies come after. When everything feels bullish, usually crashes follow shortly after.
Amen.
The levels I'm watching are, first of all, that 17,600.
If you're listening to the sound of my voice, that can mean only one thing, and that's that you are in the market bulls, baby. Let's do it. The merge has shipped.
Come on, baby.
Yeah.
Come on, now.
That is the date that the Federal Reserve will be making their Fed rate decision.
Well, gee, Tim, I would love to do that. I think we're still going to see projects like Bored Ape Yacht Clubs or things like that still exist. The answer is 1,000 Dogecoin.
Oh.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It is Friday here for the Coffee and Crypto Show, where we go live every single day of the week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining us today. Go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for all of your crypto content, whether it be technical analysis, news, or even breaking down the fundamentals and sentiment in the space to predict what could be happening next. We had a kind of a crazy day ending yesterday leading into this morning. Of course, there was that hack on the BNB chain. Make sure that you're clear on this. It was not the exchange that got hacked. It's not like people were losing Bitcoin. It was the chain BNB itself. After being so strong, BNB falters down the road. What does that mean? We're going to be discussing that and a lot more. Also, the job reports come in this morning at 3.5%. So, hey, good for jobs. Bad for crypto and equities, though. There is a good chance that this could continue to push Jerome Powell towards that 75 basis point lock, but we're going to discuss what that means because that doesn't take away from the fact that other currencies are still floundering right now in this economic woe. So what is Jerome Powell and the Fed going to do? Are we going to just focus on the United States, or are we going to take everything into perspective? We're going to talk about that. Harry joins the show later this morning, so make sure you do not miss it. Stick around. We're going to be awarding the HODL Trophy winner today, and spoiler, it looks like T-Sherm's going to win. If things change, maybe Smake squeaks in there and gets a dub. But at the moment, it looks like a T-Sherm win. Something weird did happen. Before I introduce my team, can you go to my screen here real quick, Smay? I think that there's an intern, a data analytics somewhere, someone who inputs data on TradingView that probably lost their job. This is the 1-year Treasury yield, and last night I was on Twitter with Tom Crown, and we were freaking out because it had a massive red dip. We're like, what the heck? Did everyone just sell the U.S. Treasuries? We thought it was a bug.
Gosh.
It jumped back up. I don't know if you guys can even see it. All you can see on my screen is this giant green wick. Literally last night at the close, this was red. It just looked like the 1-year Treasury yield plummeted, and we speculated it was more than likely a glitch. I don't even know. Do they have like manual people inputting data on here? Is it a computer, or like what is that?
No, it would just be connected to the bond market.
Yeah, something, somewhere, something, and someone messed up.
Yeah.
And we had a major glitch here, but
Who let the bonds out?
Doesn't mean anything just yet. That was a glitch in the radar. The U.S. Treasury yield is still moving up this morning. We'll talk about more of that when we get into some technical analysis, but let me go ahead and introduce my fantastic team here. I got T-Sherm over here, and I love the jacket. What you guys cannot see beneath are the sweatpants that are like this teal color, and that's what I was trying to get at.
Mint.
It's
color.
mint?
It's
Well,
mint.
okay. Well, have you guys ever seen Watergate? These two had never seen
gosh.
Watergate salad before. I thought that T-Shirt, when he walked in this morning, looked like he was trying to imitate Watergate salad. If you guys know what that is, let me know in chat. But T-Shirt, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing really, really good, and a little bit more caffeinated than usual, which is quite nice.
Nice. I'm also joined by Smay running our tech, who had a late night last night running his show, talking about guilty pleasure movies. Smay, how you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling actually a little bit under the weather, a little bit, but nothing too bad, nothing crazy. I think I was just snoring really bad last night.
Yeah.
But guys, I'm doing great. Thank you guys for everyone joined last night. It was a hoot, and I'm going to be doing another one again tonight. So anyways, back to you, Tim.
Boom. I absolutely love it. Smay, I'm about to throw it back over to you for the reading of the green names. But really quickly, guys, remember, this is Positive Friday. And despite the fact that there is some bad news we got to cover, this whole channel is about not only bringing you the news and helping you guys navigate the crypto space, but keeping everything positive. Because despite the fact that we've been in a bear trend now for almost a full year, there's always reasons to be positive, not only just in crypto, but in life in general. So if any of you out there are freaking out or fudding out or anything, Turn that frown upside down, smile, because it's Positive Friday, and we're about to read the green names. Smay, take it away.
Oh boy, it's the best segment in the world. We're gonna read some green names. Bonk. All right, so that was my theme song. Give me your ratings in chat, how you felt about it.
Also, Smay,
Yes, sir.
little twist today. I want you to, when you read the green name, what do you think that person's favorite food is?
All right. What was that salad that you said?
Watergate salad.
Watergate salad. All right, so Mitch Shaw, he's really into Watergate salad. Gia S looks like she really likes redfish. Redfish caught off Cedar Key, I think. That's like she's really into that.
Delicious.
Agent Gold, I think, is a huge fan of Hawaiian pizza. Crypto JMP looks like a spaghetti and meatballs kind of guy. He doesn't like the meat sauce. Who else we got here? We got Justin Eubanks. I think his is granola bars. I think he's really into granola bars. We got Tyler Main, who I think eats chicken and rice. A lot of chicken and rice. I think he's a bodybuilder. It's 420 Wood. Eats a lot of Taco Bell. We have a mellow fellow is probably out here. Let's say I'm gonna say pizza as well, but I'm gonna say it's like pizza with like arugula and like prosciutto on top. You know what I mean? Arugula. But anyways,
It's a fun word.
guys, I love all of you guys. Those are I read as many. Oh, we got Queen. We got so many great people in the chat. So back to you, Tim.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Smay. Really quickly, before we jump into our market pulse, if you do not already have your coffee, go get some, fill it up, because it's going to be a great show today here on Coffee and Crypto. Before we jump there, though, we do need to bring you a word from our sponsor. The sponsor of the market pulse today is the exchange MEXC. First of all, shout out to them. Thank you so much for sponsoring our show and this segment. If you do not know what MEXC is, it is a fantastic exchange, especially for any of our viewers that are not U.S. citizens. We highly recommend you guys use MEXC. One of the most important things about exchanges, like right now in the history of crypto, people don't know where they can trust their money. Well, MEXC is one of the few that has no hacks to this date. So if you are looking for a place to be purchasing cryptocurrencies at these fantastic price levels, MEXC might just be the one for you. It was voted the #1 exchange in all of Asia. Go check out with the link down below right now. Teach Room, go ahead and take us away into our market pulse.
Well, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, it can mean only one thing, and that's that you are in the market pulse, baby. Let's do it. Starting off on the Fear and Greed Index, we have gone back into extreme fear, and it's a little bit disappointing, but, it is what it is. Keeping in mind that fear and greed is a lagging indicator. We'll go on over to the Fed rate hike tool predictor from the CME, and it is continuing to predict, even after this job report we'll get to in the second, 75 basis points. 75 basis points is pretty much a lock, as our title says today. It is not going to be changing. If it did, it's going to, it would be something really, really big that would have to change that. Perhaps the inflation print, but more than likely this is not going to be moving. They're going to be doing 75. Speaking of that unemployment number, we got that this morning. The forecast for the non-farm payroll number was 250,000, and the actual print was 263,000. The unemployment rate, which is kind of the big headline one that everybody's paying attention to, came in under forecast at 3.5. Forecast was 3.7, previous 3.7, as you can see on the screen. This is a time when good news becomes bad news. Obviously, if you're out there trying to be employed, then this is good news. This meaning that you are able to find jobs out there in the economy with such a low unemployment rate. But it also means for equities, things are not going probably quite as well, because this is going to trickle down to the Fed now having a more hawkish incentive to move forward, because the Fed's not worried too much about disrupting labor markets. Tim, what do you think about this print here?
Yeah, I mean, more than likely, there's a lot of things that still have to play out. I want to hear what Jerome Powell has to say. But on this Positive Friday, I thought that we should make a really positive spin on this really negative news. Good for your jobs. And that is the positive part of this, is that jobs are still strong. The bad news is when jobs are strong, it's going to give Jerome Powell a lot more weight to go ahead and hammer down on tackling inflation, which will continue to try to lose jobs, and it try to make the job market go down, or at least get rid of the supply of jobs. And then on top of that, crypto will go down. But here's the positive spin. If any of you did not like that, you get to keep your job a little longer to gather up a little bit more dollars to go buy some really cheap Bitcoin. So there's your positive spin on some bad news for today. You can take it back,
Yeah,
T-shirt.
no, that's really, really good. Yeah, if you go back to my screen, maybe we'll go ahead and dive into some of the crypto news here, starting off with a real sour story here. BNB chain back online after suspension due to a cross-chain exploit. So things not looking, as strong over there at BNB chain. Initial estimates of the compromised funds were as high as 100 million worth of cryptocurrency. However, hours into the situation, the network announced current estimates of exploits funds to be around 70 to 80 million, with 70 million successfully frozen. There's the silver lining there. There's the positive Friday silver lining. 7 million already successfully frozen. The genesis of the compromise took place on the BSC token hub, which in the end created extra BNB, according to the official post on Reddit. So somebody snuck in there and minted a bunch of extra BNB and then made off with it. So, this obviously inflated or deflated the price, the value of BNB, but probably not by enough to where anybody really noticed, I would imagine. So there you go. A hack that was pretty sophisticated, you'd have to imagine. CZ's reaction, the CEO of Binance, said, an exploit on a cross-chain bridge BSC token hub resulted in extra BNB. We have asked all validators to temporarily suspend BSC. This issue is contained now. Your funds are safe. We apologize for the inconvenience and will provide further updates accordingly. Checking the price of BNB, which maybe we'll do a little bit later, it wasn't really moved by this. So, and also Cake wasn't either. So some of the main coins that are on the BSC were also not really affected. They were down, but not down by a dramatic amount. Moving on, crypto exchange FTX's token surges 7% after Visa partnership report. So for one exchange, it's going down, and for the other exchange, it's getting some great news here. FTX is surging ahead here. Man, they are really strong and staying in the headlines, aren't they? Really, really continuing to impress the crypto community here. The partnership will see the exchange release crypto debit cards in 40 countries with a focus on Latin America, Europe, and Asia, according to a CNBC report. FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried told CNBC that crypto debit cards can distribute traditional payment networks. So, he's really, really passionate about this, really, really interested in investing down in South America and helping them fight their inflation. If you think our inflation in the United States is bad, or if you're in Europe and you're watching, it's much worse down there in South America, especially Argentina. Crypto payments have been a slow burner since the inception of digital assets more than 10 years ago. Price volatility and lack of desire to use scaling solutions like Lightning Network has perturbed retailers. But accounting firm Deloitte believes that it's soon to change, with a prediction that 75% of merchants will accept crypto within the next 2 years. Deloitte is one of 4 major accounting firms. There's not like an infinite amount of accounting firms that are on the level of Deloitte. Deloitte is pretty big. So this 75% prediction is pretty significant. And in only 2 years, they're predicting that. So they really have their finger on the pulse. If you're going to believe anybody about the adoption rate of Bitcoin, of crypto for businesses, I would definitely believe Deloitte's. Moving along, just going to read the headline here, because we've been covering this narrative of things turning sour for the miners and them having to ultimately turn to creative options to raise revenue to continue operations. But Bitcoin miner Argo blockchain raises $27 million to ease liquidity pressures, surging, and shares plunge 15 on that news. So not super great there, but continuing to be creative. Look, and there's their facility there for mining. Pretty cool facility, man. I'd love to go tour something like that one day. But they've got to be able to perpetuate and stay strong and get through this market. This bear market. We shall see if they're up for the challenge there. Bitcoin's correlation with gold hits highest level in over a year. And CoinDesk's header still, they fixed it, but it's still getting in the way, man. CoinDesk has just not had the best of luck with their headers. We could be seeing a slight decoupling of crypto and equity markets, which is reflected in Bitcoin's rising correlation with gold, said Clara Medelli, head of research at crypto research group Kaiko. So really starting to see what could be really significant for the crypto space, which would be a decoupling of Bitcoin and the rest of the equities, specifically the tech sector of the NASDAQ. So as you can see here, the correlation is rising up and to the right. This isn't necessarily the best thing in the world, but it's not bad. It's showing that folks that are looking to hedge against inflation and potentially hedge against a downturning stock market, they're turning, traditionally they'd turn to gold, but they'd also now would turn to Bitcoin as an alternative to that. And last week, the correlation between the two assets reached over 0.3. So anybody just taking statistics knows that that's not super strong, but it is trending in a stronger direction. We'll move on to our last story here. And this one's a little bit of a doozy too. I tried to keep it positive for Friday, but this is a big story. We need to cover it. Bankrupt crypto lender Celsius reveals thousands of users' transaction histories in court filings. This is not great at all. The 14,000 page long document contained information such as customer names, crypto wallet IDs, transaction types, and amounts which service the customer had used, and the types of quantities of token held. So, all kinds of data here breached, and that's not great at all for Celsius. And it's kind of calling into question what in the world the kind of the protocols are there for the courts to be getting through this data to the public. Should the courts be able to do that at all? And obviously the answer is no. But that is going to wrap up our Market Pulse. I've been T-Shroom here. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at T-Shroom. Love to check you out over there and just communicate. And if you could do me a favor and share this video that you're watching right now, we do a lot to make these shows happen, and we would really appreciate you help spread the word out there to the people that you think would be interested in crypto. That's going to be a Market Pulse, folks. Thank you so much.
Just as you think that Celsius situation can't get any worse, these keep coming out.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Celsius is just rough.
Big rough ski.
Well, thank you so much. Another great job on the Market Pulse, T-Shroom. I think that you are doing a fantastic job. We're about to jump on here and do some technical analysis, but if you agree with me that T-Shroom is the GOAT of Market Pulses, go ahead and just throw a heart in chat for T-Shroom. You can even tag him there. Make sure you guys go follow him on Twitter as well. Let's go look at some technical analysis. Smay, don't go to my screen just yet. I want to set some things up. I was looking at Bitcoin. Let's start out here on the Dixie. Now you can go to my screen. I saw someone comment the other day. They were like, what does he mean, the Dixie? The DXY, the Dollar Currency Index. We call it the Dixie because the ticker symbol is DXY. So if anyone was confused, that's what the Dixie is. It has been rallying again. Now, after we came back down and tested former resistance, turned it into support right here at 110, we're now going back up. You guys can see I have a little mark on my screen already. This is actually a golden pocket on Fibonacci retracement. Let's go ahead and go to the peak that we had back here a couple of days ago, down to this bottom at 110. You guys can see right there, that price level at 113 is back in the golden pocket. We talked about this a little bit before. Let me kind of re-talk about this. I'm going to be saying bulls and bears. I'm going to talk about crypto right now because that's what we're comparing this to. But right now, we knew that we had to come back down. We knew that we were going to have a little bit of a fall. The question is, if the Bitcoin bulls, the crypto bulls had control, it's normal to have retracements happen. It's normal for the price to go back up to 0.236, maybe even 0.382, and that doesn't mean that the crypto bulls don't still have control and the dollar's going to go lower. When you start to go flirt with the 0.5 level, and that was right here at 112 that we were working with, a little bit flirting with yesterday, and then today we have finally went ahead and went through with it. That's when you start to say, all right, this is a little bit more of a balanced match. Even though the bulls had control, bringing the Dixie back down, letting crypto have a short little rally, the fact that Dixie got back to 0.5 means, all right, this is closer than we thought. When you start messing with the golden pocket or even the 0.786 level, that's when you have to start questioning, all right, are we going to have potentially a shift in the power in this short-term time frame? I'm going to stay on the boat of saying that I think that crypto bulls have something special coming for us, but I'm not going to ignore the chart charts and say, as we start to approach on the Dixie back towards that golden pocket, as we start to go back towards 786, don't forget that we also have what we call Fibonacci extension, where maybe the Dixie's not done climbing. Maybe we double top at 114. Maybe we climb up above 115 and go to the 1.214. The golden pocket on the extension puts us at 116. And then, of course, as you start to level up, we have some key levels up around 120, which would match back to the prices that we had back in 2002. So right now, the bears of crypto are in control, or the bulls of the Dixie are in control. Keep your eyes on what's happening there. Right now, I'm watching for 113, that golden pocket, to go up and kiss. Let's see what happens when we hit those levels. Of course, talking about that, we got to now shift into Bitcoin, where Bitcoin was falling and is falling in accordance with what the Dixie is doing. Now, I want to start by saying, Positive Friday, guys. Let's make sure we keep things positive. Don't just freak out and say, oh, a red candle, Bitcoin's going down. This is a part of what happens in the crypto space, and I'm really interested to get Harry on here and get his take on this, because there's something about technical analysis that you don't always know all the stories to predict what the price is going to do, and yet the stories will just be key triggers to hit key points on technical analysis. There was a hope, and I'm going to go to the smaller chart for this, there was hope that we were actually going to go ahead and break through this resistance level right here, but I did let you guys know there is a chance we go back down and touch support one more time, but that support is a rising support in this ascending triangle, and sure enough, we got some bad news that rejected us once again at the very, very clean level of resistance, and has sent us back down, and I put it out on Twitter this morning that it looks like we're going back down to touch that support level, and sure enough, as we stand right now on this 4-hourly chart, a wick came down and kissed this zone, and now we're starting to rally back up. Now, does that mean the dip is over? Not necessarily at all. We absolutely could close. We actually could get as low as down to 19,268 and still be within this zone of support, setting higher lows. What's crazy is the news breaking right now, of course, is bearish, but the charts are continuing to say there's a bigger story going on, and while the long-term story is still a bear trend, this intermediate story right now is still bullish, despite the fact that today's day has started out as bearish. So anyone who's freaking out saying Bitcoin is going to go break 17.6 today because the price is crashing, this is not that significant of a dip, and in fact, it sticks in line with what we've been talking about with cryptocurrency technical analysis, in that this is still a bullish momentum of setting a higher low. It's just part of the process that you got to keep your eye on. Now, of course, we can't deny that when we go out to these bigger time frames, that's a bullish formation inside of another bearish one, where we still are descending levels of resistance and having a flat level of support. This is the exact opposite, and it's going to break us to the downside. I just want to reiterate to everybody the importance of breaking through this red line right here and breaking this trend and going back up towards 22,000, 22,500. That would cancel out this consistent downward setting motion of lower highs ever since back here in June, before we had this major crash. And I believe this was the Celsius. Was it the Celsius news that made this crash? Because Luna was the one before, and then Celsius and Three Arrows Capital, they all came in together to give us this nice little crash right here. It's very important to break this downtrend. In the next coming weeks, I'm going to have some people come on the show that will give you a more bearish outlook and talk about the significance of why they think that this line will not be broken. I'm kind of hoping we break it before they even come on, and then I want to see what they have to say about it. But I don't want to silence them and say, oh, just because someone disagrees with my take overall, I'm not going to listen to them. I'll show you guys really quickly, give you a highlight of what those people will say when they come here, though. When they're looking at this descending triangle, they're going to look at this breakout point right here and come down to the bottom and give a price prediction that when we break out of this whole trend, we could be going as low as $10,200. So that is well within some evidence of other things in the technical analysis realm on cryptocurrency prices. This is one of the reasons why there are still a lot of people calling for such low drops in the price. This would make a lot of sense. If the Dixie continues to climb and goes up to 120 or higher, potentially we are looking at the prices coming down this far. But as much as those are possibilities, and this is the last thing I'll say about Bitcoin, this does not make it a guarantee. And I'm afraid that there are way too many Bitcoin holders out there that have almost closed the book and said, yep, it's a sure thing. Bitcoin is going to be breaking, setting new lows, and going down to 10,000, 9,000, some even believing as low as 3,000 or 5,000. Is it possible? Yes. Technically speaking, almost anything out there is possible. But it is nowhere near a done deal. So before you FUD out of this space, make sure you stay up to date on all of your technical analysis. Make sure you're paying attention to stories, because here's another thing. Go back to my chart real quick, Smay. Throughout this entire process, there have been a lot of bullish stories and a lot of bearish stories, and yet we continue to hold this flat bottom on Bitcoin. Other coins like Ethereum actually have set new levels. They broke down here back in June, and they are actually staying above these levels as well. Cardano's like Bitcoin, where it's back down to its normal levels, but these flat support lines have held and are still showing a potential chance for a breakout coming in the future. Make sure you don't FUD out. Make sure you stay up to date and prepare yourself for whether it be a really good situation or a bad situation. Let's actually stick here on Cardano for just a second for today, because there was a very interesting video that I saw come out here over the last couple of days from a very, very good friend of mine named Dan. He is the guy that runs the Crypto Capital Ventures show. He's been on this channel before. I absolutely love him, but he talked about a Cardano price action at the next bull run actually going as high as $15. So pause right there. What do you guys think in chat about a $15 Cardano price? I love Cardano and I love Dan. I was analyzing this, and by no means is it impossible, but there's a couple reasons why I think that Dan might be a little bit ahead of himself, and I wanted to show you guys on the charts where you can kind of expect Cardano to be going in this next bull run. And I'm not saying that $15 won't happen. I'm saying that $15 will be a little bit aggressive. So to do so, let's actually start out on the Ethereum chart. I'm going to use some rationale from Ethereum to actually give a prediction on what potentially Cardano could do. Because what we're talking about here is looking at where will the next Bitcoin or where will the next crypto bull market take us in terms of market cap. Actually, before I do Ethereum, let's actually go out to total market cap on crypto as a whole. So those of you who were in the space knew back in when we hit our peak back here in November of 2021, we got up and kissed $3 trillion of market cap in crypto. This is phenomenal. What we're wondering is what happens in the next market. What happens in the next space of bull markets? How much institutional money comes into the space, and how high can we actually get our market to go? Let's look at a couple things here using Fibonacci. For example, we'll use Fibonacci extension going all the way back to the last peak that we had back in 2017, 2018, the January of 2018, down to the bottom. This was actually got us all the way up to a 1.6 level on Fibonacci extension. Let's just kind of stick with that. And this is maybe even still kind of being a little aggressive, but say, all right, let's just pretend that we already have the bottom is in, and we're going to make a prediction based off of the future trend. Where could we see the total market cap on crypto actually get to? So let's go ahead and draw the top down here. Let me spread this out for you guys just a second. All right, that was not what I wanted to do, so I got to spread out just a little more. There we go. From the top that we had back here in November down to, let's pretend that the bottom in June was in fact, the bottom of cryptocurrency's market cap. This would mean if we stay consistent and we go back up to the 1.618 on Fibonacci extension, this would only give us a $6.79 trillion market cap. Now, there's a chance that we could get a little higher than that, especially with the fact that this next bull run could bring in a lot more institutional money than crypto has ever seen. Let's even go ahead and just double it and say that there's a semi-decent chance by the end of the next bull market, we could get all the way to $11 trillion of crypto market cap. That's got to be spread a very, very far way. And so with all of that, you got to keep in mind, we're going to need to kind of keep our predictions controlled and saying we need to not have these unrealistic expectations of potential for the future, but make sure we're thinking critically about what is a realistic mark for this next bull run. So saying all this, let's go back to Ethereum. The reason I'm using Ethereum is because Cardano doesn't have the same lifespan as some of these other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, and it's going to have potentially a very similar outcome as to what Ethereum did. And let's just compare. Even though Cardano was around, Ethereum was the main altcoin in this space. So let's compare what Ethereum did at the top of its last bull run to the bottom of this bear market, and then what it did in this next bull run. And then we're gonna use that as kind of conservative estimate on what Cardano is possible of. Again, Cardano could do a lot more than this. This is just being conservative with the prediction. Now, in the Fibonacci extension, we actually ended up making it back to the golden pocket in the Fibonacci extension here on Ethereum, going all the way from the prices of the peak in 2017 was around $1,400, dropping all the way back down to about $80. This would give us a prediction on Ethereum. Let's just extrapolate that out and say we could repeat the same cycle. And again, we're anticipating that we have the same bottom, the same top here. Let me spread this out for you guys. We could see Ethereum realistically get up to around $9,000 this next bull run. That makes a whole lot of sense when you're being a little more conservative. Can we get more aggressive? Can more institutions come into space and pump us up higher? Absolutely. But I want to give you guys a more realistic picture, because this next bull run, as much as institutional money will come in, will be the season where we are fighting with governments, we're fighting with regulation. So I want to make sure we keep the realistic expectations for growth and not just go with the explosive ones. I'm going to take the same exact logic. We're going to move over to Cardano and explore what would a Fibonacci extension back to golden pocket look like for Cardano. So we'll go to the peak right here. We're going to pretend, again, the bottom is in right here. And this gives us a price prediction of about $6.60. Maybe you could make the psychological argument that we're going to go up and hit a whole number, and we're going to call for about $7. This, to me, as much as I love Dan and I believe in Cardano long-term, I believe that $7 is a much more realistic long-term prediction for the next bull market on Cardano. I'm not saying $15 will never ever come into the equation. $15 is very doable for Cardano. My hesitancy, though, is what this next bull market will look like, and I don't want to go out on a limb and do that thing. Remember last year when a lot of people were calling for $100,000 on Bitcoin, but it was not actually the most realistic prediction. I want to make sure we're keeping our emotions in check. We're planning the right way. Long term, I believe Cardano could make its way all the way up to $30 and higher. But if you're looking at predictions for this next bull market, I think you need to come back down to earth and say, all right, a $9,000, $10,000 Ethereum, let's just stick realistically with that. A $7 Cardano. Let's go ahead and stick with that. Let's even talk about Bitcoin here for just a second. Last one here, and then we'll be transitioning, getting Harry on the show. I think a more realistic expectation for Bitcoin with institutions probably coming into it. Let's do the same thing, and let's just use its bear market, the last bear market, for example. We actually made it all the way up to the 1.6 level. So that's going to be a more aggressive one. I'm going to probably go stick with the golden pocket on this one. But let's go ahead and look at what these predictions would give us. A 1.6 level on Bitcoin would give us an $150,000 Bitcoin. A golden pocket prediction would give us 113. These, to me, as much as I would love to see higher ones like 400, 500,000 on Bitcoin, I would love to see 20,000 on Ethereum. I would love to see 15,000 or $15 on Cardano. I want to keep this next bull market a little more conservative. I believe it's actually this one that will keep us in the fight zone, and the next one, when the countries and the world actually starts to adopt crypto and stop fighting it, that's when we'll see the absolute explosive growth in crypto. But I just wanted to, we talk a lot about, short-term stuff with crypto. I wanted to expand it today and give you guys maybe a potential future outlook to keep your eyes on with the charts. That was a whole lot, but I hope you guys stuck with me through all of it. I'm very excited to have Harry on the show. What is going on, Harry? How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to be here. Excited to talk about job reports, what we can see in the future, and just anything crypto.
Boom. I can't wait to get into all of that, but before we go there, we have to get our question of the day. Really quickly, before we do that, though, this discussion section is brought to you guys by Uphold. Today's an exchange day. Uphold is a great exchange, and you guys have been, I saw someone in chat actually ask about it. One of the coolest things about Uphold is, first of all, again, security. That's really important. You do not want an exchange that has had hacks in its past. You want to make sure you can trust them with your money. Uphold is one of those, but what makes it super cool is it's one of the few exchanges where you can trade almost anything for anything in the crypto space. That means you can trade cryptos, you can trade equities, you can trade metals. It is one of the coolest offerings out there, and that is a trader's best, most favorite thing, is that when they can trade almost anything for anything else, that makes their trades a lot simpler. Make sure to sign up with Uphold down below in the description. With that said, T-Shroom, why don't you jump us into the question of the day, and Harry can answer first.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, no, just kidding. All right, the question of the day, Smay, do not go to my screen, is, would you rather bring back to life the following people? Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, or Bob Ross, the happy tree painter? I'm going to let that marinate for you, and I'm going to read it again.
Oof.
Who would you rather bring back to life? Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, or Bob Ross, the happy tree painter? Going to start off with Harry. What do you think?
I'm going to have to go with Bob Ross. I love Steve Irwin, but some happy trees right now. We could do some happy trees, some happy charts. I would have to go with Bob Ross.
Ooh, happy charts. You might be onto something there with that one.
Happy charts.
I like that. All right, Tim, what do you got?
This is hard for me. I love me some Bob Ross, but I love me some Steve Irwin as well.
It's tough.
I am neither as big of an animal person as Smay, nor a big artsy person. I don't know if anyone in this room is a big arts person, but I'm gonna lean towards animals. I loved watching Steve Irwin growing up. I'm gonna bring back Steve Irwin. By the way, shout out to everything his family and his kids are doing to keep that zoo going.
That's right.
Steve Irwin keeps living on, but it would be cool to get him back in the flesh and breathing and talking to us again. So
Absolutely. Smay, what you got? I think I know what you're going to
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's no surprise. I'm literally wearing a Steve Irwin hat that I
Wow.
ordered from Australia.
Yeah.
So, let's just say I definitely want to see old Steve back in action. I think especially, I love Bob Ross a lot, but I think Steve Irwin would have had more of an impact on this planet than Bob Ross would have. So I want a little bit more of that Steve back, and I think we need him nowadays.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. And what would T. Shroom's guess be? Glad you asked.
Yes.
My guess of who's going to come back to life. No, I would rather bring back Bob Ross because what he was to the world was basically government subsidized therapy. When you watched him on PBS, that was your tax dollars going to excellent programming. And that is going to wrap up our question of the day. Thank you for tuning
There you
in.
go. Yeah, split panel on the show.
This just gave me the urge to go watch like old Bob Ross TV now, like his little
I know,
shows
man.
and stuff. Man, I
I have
used
a
to
Bob
love that.
Ross lunchbox still.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, throwback.
Yeah.
A lunchbox. Nice.
Well, hey, let's jump back into some crypto here. My first question for you, Harry, I know you were on the call. What are your thoughts about some long-term predictions for those three coins I mentioned? Do you think that that's more realistic, or do you like a more explosive prediction for the top of the next bull market?
No. I think it's really hard to do any type of prediction, especially when we're doing any type of economic depression, recession, anything like that, because in the end, everything right now is a ticker to something else, right? So Bitcoin is ticked to US dollar, if you're British pound, and in the end, you can kind of think of all the other currencies, the fiat currencies, people might get mad, just put any of them, the yen, Filipino currency, Mexican peso, all of these are going to look like altcoins, and they're just going to do the slope down to zero at some point, right? As a new thing is adopted or as another currency takes over, right? And I think, Tom Crown said it earlier this morning when I was reading the data, he said exactly what I was thinking. Unemployment failed to meet the Fed's expectations and predictions. Even though the data and headline says we had down, if you actually look into the data, the participation of people is down. And, and that's causing a little bit of the inflation. And, so this year is going to, in a sense, fuel, more rate hikes and all that. But for the predictions to be super crazy, there has to be a reason for that value, right? So I saw somebody in the chat mention the triple merge on Ethereum. Absolutely great point, Tim, that you had brought up before, but I just didn't think it would do anything now because the triple merge here, this is going to be an escalation of data over the next 10 to 50 years, where Ethereum will find its median on both the burn rate of it and everything from there. It's just not something we would see absolutely right after the merge, right? And this is kind of how me and you disagreed. So as far as those price predictions, I think Cardano can be there if it gets use, right? So we need more users. We have a lot of wallet addresses, but our transactions per second, our actual scalability, which is what we're working on with the Basho era now, there's a lot that can be done. So I don't think the predictions are crazy. I think Dan's prediction of 15 on Cardano does depend on a lot of stipulations being met, but that's what every prediction is. So no, I don't think it's crazy at all.
And I agree with you. And I hope anyone listening was not saying, that Tim's saying that Dan is wrong. I think that Dan would be right if there's a lot of bullish narrative that goes in, but until any of that comes in, I think we got to stick with the concept of, all right, first of all, we're facing a recession. Crypto's never seen a recession before. Second of all, there's going to be a lot of fighting going on. We talked about these phases before with Mark Yusko, where we talk about they used to just completely ignore crypto, and there was nothing but retail investors going into the space. Then they started to laugh at crypto, where, it's kind of a game you played, is dabbled. Oh, that's that thing those computer guys do. They play with some cryptocurrency. I think that you started to see some institutions say there was some cool stuff going on here. Now we've entered into they're going to fight it, meaning crypto is legitimate. You do have institutions that are on the side of crypto, but you have others that are very afraid of it because crypto spells a very, very disaster story for the current way that businesses work, that governments work. They realize they're going to have to change, and they're going to fight it every step of the way. So that's why I'm a little at this time hesitant about the masses. I don't know if we're going to be able to get up to $20 trillion in market cap. I think 10 to $11 trillion in market cap on crypto as a whole for this next bull market is more realistic than going more explosive. Absolutely, that could change. If we get higher and if more institutions come into space and if more governments begin to adopt crypto, then what Dan is saying absolutely could be true with $15 of Cardano. I think when you're looking at that logic, you're looking at a $20,000 Ethereum. You're looking at more than likely $300,000 to $400,000 in Bitcoin. But I know in my past, we got our hopes up a little bit too high. And of course, the other thing is, when you start to dabble with institutions, when you start to dabble with these large whales, and it's a more of an adopted space that people are paying attention to, you're not going to get some of the crazy pumps that we used to get when it was only retail investors. And we were talking about Bitcoin going from $90 to $1,000 is a massive ordeal. I think it's going to take a lot more for us to get those high numbers and increases to come again. It's going to be a slower process than I think a lot of people want to admit.
No, I agree 100%. And when you overall look at, like, let's say the data that we had here before and how the Fed is, going to take it, right? So like I said before, Tom was saying how this would be an opportunity for the Fed to now have to go, yep, it's not enough, we're going to have to do more, right? Well, if we look back in history at what previous chairs have done, last time I was on, I brought up Volckner. So my, economic background is pretty limited. When I was at adult daycare at Texas A&M. I went through a few business classes, and before I went to become a doctor, right? So during that time, I had a lot of interest in it. My dad, made me go to it, and I'm really glad he did. So, because this got me the opportunity to study how we as a society and economy have progressed. And Volckner back in the 80s had a tough call. He had inflation got up to like almost 20%, like what do we do? So in 2 years, he did a bunch of stuff. And after that, we got down to 5%. And then it took 15 years to get down to 2%. And during that time, nothing happened. It was stagnant. And this is where the opportunistic disinflation narrative came in. And this is where Volckner just said, I'm not going to do anything, right? And, I'm sure Caleb and, the people who are actually real economists can talk more about him and other people, but this didn't really work that well. So we're taking that into account now. And now the Fed is saying, we're going to do whatever it takes to get down on inflation, right? Yeah. So then we can kind of think of, well, what is the main root here, right? And I kind of, went into a heated debate last time on inflation and, what it is, how we got it, right? And it's pretty simple to fix, but let's break it down to something easier. So when I was in college, this is back in 2009, during the class, my professor said that, inflation was a lot like alcoholism. And he was referring to a talk that Milton Friedman, another economist who was an advisor for Reagan, had talked about. And he says, when it comes to inflation, what you want to do to fix it is you want to print money, right? And just like drinking, you want to drink more to have the good effects, because the good effects come first. The bad effects don't come until later, right? So in both attempts, there's always a strong temptation to drink more, and there's also a strong temptation to print more money, right? Because this is going to soften everything, make it easier. But the problem is that doesn't work, right? To cure the situation, you have to do the opposite, right? So if you overdrink or you overprint, the good effects come now, but all these bad effects start to build up. And the only cure is to do the opposite, right? So you stop drinking, you feel like crap, almost cursed, feel like crap at first, and then you start to feel better as all the effects wear off, right? So let's put that narrative into what we're doing right now. We have printed, we've drank too much, we're in the hangover right now. We're trying to figure out where we're at, and it sucks because they kept printing more, so we kept drinking more. So now this hangover is going to take a lot longer to get over, right? So that's kind of how I'm looking at everything that they're doing here with inflation, what's going on. And now we kind of have this false narrative, like you were saying before, that right before elections, oh, look, employment's down, we have more jobs, Now there's also talk about the federal pardon on marijuana, right? I'm all for marijuana. I don't care about that or any of the politics of it. But now, we kind of have to look at the bigger narrative here. After that, if you just got out of prison, who are you going to vote for now? The guy who got you out of prison or the other party that put you in prison, right? So there's about to be a lot of new Democratic voters, and there's a lot of new things that are going to change from this point. So, we're in that hangover period. and it's going to be tight. There's not going to be very much money. And if, me and Tom and other people are correct, and there are more rate hikes, like at this point, it seems like 75 would probably be expected in November. I'll have to read more into it and think to see exactly, but that would be my guess. But last time I figured 100 would be the smarter deal, but that wasn't the best for the narrative. It might have been better for the economy, right? So as we look into what's going to happen and where this goes, it's very, very tough. And, what do we do as the investor or trader if we think that Bitcoin and crypto is the hedge against all of this? It would be to just slowly accumulate it with the expectation that you're not going to become a multimillionaire overnight. It's going to be in time accumulating over several bull runs.
I love where you went with that, and it's going to be a great transition as we get into the topic that we want to talk about right now is the job report. So a little backstory for everyone who maybe wasn't paying attention in the last couple of meetings with Jerome Powell, but he's kind of singled out the job reports as being one of the main focal points of his decision making. And him talking about right now the supply to demand of jobs is just out of control. And he actually wants to lower the supply of jobs, meaning like right now, I think it's for every single unemployed person out there, there's 2 jobs available. And one of the things he's looking at is getting that he's like, we're just gonna have the pain where the unemployment rate begins to rise. And I don't know, did he give us exact levels he's looking for that he wants it to be at, or did he just kind of say we need it to rise?
The unemployment rate?
The unemployment rate.
No.
I didn't think he gave us exact levels. Either way, what I can tell you is he did not want it to go down, and that's exactly what happened. So, Harry, with the unemployment rate continuing to actually move in the wrong direction, meaning there's going to be more pressure for Jerome Powell to increase rates, but at the same time, of course, we're dabbling with the larger scale, and we got to continue to watch this as it plays out. If we continue to pump value into the US dollar while all these other currencies are still being inflated, could we be shutting down complete global trade? Jerome Powell's got a very hard decision. What are you thinking first of all, what do you think he's going to do? And then second of all, what do you think he should be doing right now?
What I think he should be doing is, unfortunately, is going to be shutting down the global economy, right? We're an economy that if you look at, like, let's take something in front of me, a pen, right? How much went into making this pen? And that same economist, Milton Friedman, did this with a pencil, and he broke down every single piece of this pen. And, like this rubber probably came from South America. This plastic might have been mined somewhere in Asia. And all of these pieces, in order to make this pen, took thousands of people communicating all across the country, probably different languages. And all of them had to communicate to make this pen at a price that would be manageable for us to buy, right? And that is the free trade. That is our economy. And in order to keep and up and maintain that, right, we have to have everything has to be in some sort of equilibrium or efficiency, right? So if you are, let's just say where I'm a baker, right, and I make bread, well, that baker probably is not doing anything innovative, is not doing anything to change or make the industry better, right? So in a sense, our capitalism-driven economy means that baker shouldn't make as much as somebody who's in the tech industry or something who's innovating our whole society and industry as a whole. So as of right now, this is, again, just in my opinion, the great reset, right? This recession here and this tightening is where people have to refigure out, like, what do you need? What are your basic needs to survive? Do you actually need all of these different subscription plans, right? Like, I'm trying to bring this from a baker standpoint to where we actually here are in the world, right? When money is tight, you stop doing things that are unnecessary, right? Me and my wife travel all the time. I go places, me and Tim, we were in Austin, right? I traveled about half as much this year just so I can maintain a safe retainer of cash that I don't have to worry or stress about, right? So, like even someone who, like, I would say I have in excess of income at most times, right? Like I am tightening down to make sure, like, hey, I don't know what's happening. So this same mentality is across the board, whether you're wealthy or not. You figure out what your basic needs are to survive, and then you kind of go from there. So I think 75 basis points coming in November would be there. But the problem is, like, this consumer price index report being slightly high, we see that participation is low. So, that means you might be working right now, but it still is, you're not really putting out as much work as necessary. So another employee may need to get paid more for the same amount of work, even though that person probably would have done the job for less, right? And this whole new switching around now is where people are going to figure out what the new wage is, what the new income is. And, right now we're just as much a cause for the inflation as, well, I wouldn't want to say just as much, but right now with this people not wanting to work, not going out and participating, right? Why should they be able to actually get the wealth of what all the participation made, like all of our technology. So this whole new rebalance in the world is where we got to figure out, what do we really need? And unfortunately, I feel like we've been kicking the bubble and the can down the road since, the 50s, 60s, 70s. And now here we are in 2022, going into 2023, and all the stuff we did before doesn't work. So I feel like a change has to occur. But like you said before, we have the November elections. So the Band-Aid method might be easier. And then we just start everything in Q1 of 2023.
Everything right there is fantastic. Do you think Jerome Powell, Harry, do you think he stays focused on only things happening inside the United States, or do you think that he actually starts to expand and look at things globally to make his opinions?
Well, I know for sure that, I call him an idiot all the time because he's just an actor up there reading a script. But, he does. The Fed is in control of the global economy. Our dollar dictates everything. Even if you're the second, third, fourth, fifth biggest economy, we can see, was it Germany's fifth and England's fourth or something like that, and they're crumbling right now, right? And as far as GDP and what they produce, we rely on a lot of the things that they have. And, when you start losing pieces to this finely tuned machine, if you don't schedule maintenance will schedule it for you. And, we haven't been scheduling maintenance. So, it's kind of like, here it is, like, well, now what do we do? And the cascade of events it can go so many ways, right? You can be the prepper route where, the geopolitical is going to dictate everything. Don't even worry about money. It's just that prevent war, prevent all of that. But what is the trickle down if that doesn't happen, right? So the amount of scenarios on what the economy can play out right now it's too hard to calculate, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think just even kind of bringing everybody up to speed on what the outlook is going to look like. I was taking some notes this morning. Jerome Powell and the Fed, they got to make a decision. Do they want to tackle inflation, or do they want to prevent disaster? What do I mean by disaster? We've referenced this a lot, but just going back to it. If the dollar continues to climb in value, we will see trade shut down globally. So we're not talking about, all right, can we lower demand of the United States citizens to get them to purchase less things? We're talking about, we're going to crush demand, because no matter what people want, things will not be available. We're going to crush the supply, and it doesn't matter what the demand actually is. So here's the things that'll happen. If Jerome Powell continues to tackle inflation, this is what you guys should be expecting. The unemployment levels will go up. He's talked about this. The pain will get real. So anyone out there, you got to be starting to think about this. Man, as Jerome Powell makes these moves, what is my job looking like? Am I prepared? Potentially, do I have to start looking, if I get laid off, am I going to have to go look for another job? In which case, I need to be holding on to as much U.S. dollars as possible to pay for my goods. Of course, with him going after inflation, hopefully this continues to go after goods and services. That should be going down in price as the dollar gets up in value. That will make things cheaper to go. However, the disaster happens when you start to talk about trade just completely shuts down. If other governments, if other places where we source all of our goods and services, our tech, our food, all these other things, if they stop trading with us because their debt, which is holding US dollars, is just out of control, they're just going to stop moving and trading things to the United States because they cannot afford to keep producing things and trade with the United States whatsoever. It will bring absolute disaster to the United States. And on top of all of that, crypto will go down. So not only will you potentially be losing your job, you're also going to be having your portfolio in crypto go down as well. That's a very scary situation. Now, I think long term, you actually start to see crypto go up with events that happen, but it's going to take a lot longer for crypto to begin to rally. On the other hand, if he goes the route of preventing disaster and lowering interest rates, or potentially even pausing them, which I've seen some people kind of calling for, this would make the unemployment rate continue to stay low or even potentially go down. Goods and services will be getting more expensive. So yes, you'll have a job, but that job, it's almost like you're getting a pay cut because everything you're spending money for will be going down, or it will be getting more expensive. Trade will pick back up, so goods will continue to come over here. And the best of all of that is that crypto will go up. The question is, again, can you continue to pay for everything because your dollar is so worthless? You're going to want to absolutely have as much money going on in the crypto space. So we're sitting here kind of with a situation of, man, inflation has so much pain that comes with it, but the opposite has a lot as well. There is no good answer. One of them is clearly better for crypto, but one of them is probably better for the overall livelihood of a person. So keep your eyes on what's happening as Jerome Powell makes this decision here in just a couple of weeks. T-Shroom, I know that you had a question or a point that you wanted to add in here.
Yeah, no. So Harry had brought up, the effect that folks coming out of prison would have, and I was thinking about that as well when I saw the headline yesterday about the pardon for prisoners. So I did a little research. Smay, if you'll go to my screen, the White House officials said there were 6,500 people convicted of simple possession of weed under federal law between 1992 and 2021. Thousands more face state convictions. So with this pardon, he's only choosing to pardon the federal folks who are convicted here.
You can touch the state laws, only the federal.
Yeah, and a bunch of states are going to follow suit, obviously, but some won't. Texas looks like it's not going to. But all in all, you would have to value this probably just tickling a single million, maybe 2 million. But I don't think this is going to get to where it's going to tip the scales of an election potentially. What I am concerned about is this could trickle into unemployment, and those unemployment numbers could go up as all these folks come out of prison and then they go into the unemployment system, and then they tick into that. But that also probably won't have that big of an effect. So when we're looking at the numbers of folks coming that are going to be affected by this pardon, it's more than likely not going to tip the scales in any direction in terms of the election or unemployment. I could be wrong about that, but that's the way that I see it.
Did you read a number there? Was there a number given on that report?
Yeah, 6,500 are the amount that are convicted of simple possession. So, but the thing is a lot of folks.
I was expecting that number to be way larger.
The issue is a lot of folks who are convicted of possession also have convictions of possession with also possession of a firearm and maybe an illegal firearm. So there's a lot of combination crimes that go in with the possession of cannabis. And if you have 30 pounds of cannabis, that's a different situation legally than if you have just less than an ounce for personal use. So having 30 pounds of cannabis would be intent to distribute, which is again it's more of a crime than just having a little baggie of weed for yourself. So that's kind of the comparison there. So that's what the White House is estimating 6,500 would be pardonable. Through this pardon, and that's going back to 1992. So, but at the state level, you'd have to imagine that number is going to at least double, if not triple or quadruple. But again, my estimate is that it wouldn't get into the multiple of millions, maybe tickle 1 million.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. As we transition here, Harry, do you need to run right now, or do you want to stay with us through the community questions portion?
Sure, I can stay for the questions.
Awesome. I'm going to read this one, Smay, and then if there's others, I want you to be able to grab those and get them to us. Elliot Locke makes a very good point right here with his super chat he gave just a second ago. He said, nobody's talking about this being the seasonal job part of the year. Unemployment goes down until January, and then the seasonal jobs ends. What are your thoughts there? Great point. Harry, what are your thoughts about that? I'd forgotten about that. This is, a lot of people are picking up some part-time and not even just part-time, but seasonal work.
The seasons definitely, have an uptick, right? Like you said, the seasonal workers, but you kind of have that with almost every major season, depending on also your geographic location, right? And the reason I bring this up is because whenever I would work close to Texas A&M, a lot more agriculture and stuff there. The seasonal stuff was only more around the big cities, right? This is where you have Walmarts and Best Buys and distribution centers where they need extra people doing all of these things. So yeah, no, this is a good thing to have these increased things. The problem is the amount of people willing to do those jobs, right? So if you say I'm a veterinary surgeon, right? I don't mind going out to do physical labor, but I'm probably not going to go pick up a seasonal job moving stuff around, right? So you now have to fit that bill of people who would actually go and get that job. And kind of just like you're saying with the individuals leaving prison, it's great for them, but now it's going to be even harder for them to get a job in a job marketplace that's tough, or they may be the first ones to jump on the job, right? So it could be a very, very good thing. But, in the end, I don't know if the seasonal jobs is going to be enough of an uptick. They might make the media think of that, but, in the end, those jobs, like they said, will end in January 1st, and then they need to migrate to a new job. The question is, will that individual do that?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have thoughts there?
This is the less participation aspect of the whole job report, which is very tough to kind of grasp, because the participation just means that if you don't want to work there and you have to get a whole new person to work and cover that person's job, right? How do you calculate how much the value is of the real employee? And I think that's kind of the limbo we're in.
It's just hard to be able to predict what a bunch of individual people are going to be doing. You can only really predict things on like a higher scale of like, thousands and thousands of people. These people who are coming out of prison, it's just so hard to say what they're going to do. It's hard to say even which way they're going to vote. Just because they're pardoned by Biden doesn't necessarily mean they're going to vote for him. Obviously, you would assume so, but there's so many so many compounding factors. But one thing that we're talking about unemployment. One thing that happened today was that Tesla sold their first, fulfilled their first contract of semi trucks to PepsiCo. And, Tesla is known for autonomous driving. So how much longer until all of the United States truckers are replaced? That would be an extreme shift in unemployment. And that's just autonomy in the trucking industry. You could get a lot more autonomy seeping into other parts of the economy. And I remember doing a report on this, is that trucking is the #1 employer for folks who do not go to college. So people who just graduate high school, the majority of them, or not the majority of them, but the largest market that absorbs that group of people is trucking and transportation of goods. And so, that's not if you're someone who's really concerned about unemployment rates, you want to be following that Tesla story as they make a big contract today.
Yeah.
With PepsiCo, PepsiCo does a giant amount of distribution around the United States and Canada. So,
well, and that's another thing I think through this whole process, we haven't talked about here. I don't know if another channel has, is the other thing that this season is going to bring a lot of is killing of these small mom and pop shop companies.
Yeah.
And then, as much as they're going to struggle through it, some of these larger chain businesses are going to come out the other side with a firmer grasp on the market. We've seen this happen before. I remember this happened back in 2008. A lot of small businesses shut down. And of course, the larger companies, Targets, Walmarts, they took advantage of it, just squeezing the market to where they can keep things so cheap. They can keep things at a great levels, and they take a year or two of pain, and all of a sudden they've eliminated all competition and they get to go up. This is even more. I know we're talking about cryptocurrencies here on this channel with crypto, but centralization of any kind ends up bringing in economic disaster long term, because once they've squeezed out all their competition, they can raise prices and we don't have anything to do about it. Even if inflation gets fixed, these bigger companies can just continue to squeeze. So I'm hoping very much so that crypto becomes a forefront, because crypto is what's going to allow these smaller companies to actually compete with the larger ones. Amazon, we saw Amazon do that to a lot of different companies. People forget that there was a lot of competitors to Amazon early on, but due to some great business moves made by their executives, their cheap prices continuing, they are continuing to kill their competition. And I don't think you guys realize, as much as my wife loves Amazon, she absolutely loves it. She orders something probably every single day. Probably should get a handle on that. There's going to be a day where Amazon has just eliminated the need for any other store to be selling things, and then they can make the prices whatever they want to. Competition is very, very, very good for the market to keep prices low, and that's the other thing that people always forget about. When we have these economic shutdowns, these recessions, you actually make it a lot harder to compete with the big boys.
Yeah.
Was there any? I saw another super chat in the document.
Yes, sir.
Smay, what do we got here?
Yes, sir. We have another super chat here. It is from Troublesome Creek. We know we love that guy.
We do.
He says, these daily economic figures remind me of 1984.
Is he talking about the year 1984 or the book?
Probably the book. But I have a response to this. I think we need to go in the opposite direction. I think we need to have, with so much automation these days, we need to have real-time inflation data and real-time unemployment data. Because when the Fed's making these decisions on whether to hike rates or whatever, they're making these decisions based off of sometimes month-old data. And I think that we live in a world now where we can have up-to-date data. And to the extent that that's scary and it's like 1984, I think there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more troubling things in the world, as in America right now, that I see than data, economic data. But to the extent that they're lying, this unemployment rate, there's a lot of controversy over how reliable that is. That part's not great. But all the more reason that we source our economic data from a variety of places, not just the Bureau of Labor Statistics or whatever. So, I think I see where Troublesome Creep's coming from.
I mean, we've been having some things move towards the likes of what the book 1984 talks about for a very long time. What year was 1984 written in? It was written like back in the
I believe
30s?
It was. I believe it was sooner than that. I think it was sometime around
40s, maybe.
I think
1949.
49.
Yeah,
Okay,
say,
49. I heard about that book more recently. I love one of my favorite shows to watch when I have time. For all the sports fans out there, is the show Pat McAfee. I love everything Pat McAfee does. But he was interviewing Aaron Rodgers. Some of you guys know who Aaron Rodgers is. Multiple time quarterback
That's that soccer
MVP.
player, right?
Yeah, no, football player. Here we go. He always has, every single week he goes on the show, he gives a book recommendation, and he went off on a little spiel here last week about the book 1984 and talking about how he's like, you're going to read this book and figure out there's a lot of things happening currently that are very, very close to what 1984 is all about. Even more so, of course, I'm preaching to the choir here on this channel, but all the more reason for cryptocurrency. Samay and I are actually talking about this the other day. The beauty of crypto, first of all, a fallacy. If anyone thinks that this about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, that they're anonymous. You're not anonymous for cryptocurrency. Maybe things like Monero, yeah, the guy out in Texas that uses it for shrooms. No, when we're talking about Bitcoin, and of course Bitcoin is the granddaddy of them all, Bitcoin is not anonymous. Now, it might be hard for every single person to know what you do, but anybody who really wants to find out what you're spending money on, they can find out what you're doing using blockchain technology and using Bitcoin. One of the reasons why we talk about it all the time when people accuse Bitcoin of being used for money laundering and for crime, it's like that's the dumbest thing in the world because you can literally track everything that's been done on Bitcoin. So now you're wondering, okay, well, why is Bitcoin special? If Bitcoin can take over, if Bitcoin is the world currency that people are utilizing, it's not that it's bad that the government now can know what we're spending money on. They've known what we're spending money on for a very long time. But for the first time, we'll finally be able to know what they're spending money on. It's a complete trustless system that keeps everything in check. And instead of some of us just speculating about the evils of what governments and businesses do, we will actually be able to confirm it and keep people accountable. So you're talking about books like 1984, how to prevent that? We are moving towards that direction more and more every single day. Cryptocurrency is the answer to solve some of these centralized problems and to keep things on a level playing field where, like I said, it's not a problem necessarily that the government knows what I'm doing. They've known that for a long time. It's about time we find out what they're doing and we have the proof along with the pudding. So, boom. Another super chat that just came in.
I do have another super chat here. It's from Elo Brown. Says, big ups to the crew. What up, vet? Let's go.
What up, Elo Brown?
Big ups.
We like that guy, Elo Brown.
Oh, yes. What, was there any normal I saw a couple questions earlier, but I scrolled past them.
There are none in the document, so I have not seen any lately. But if you guys have seen some, please do not keep them to yourself. And hey, T-Shroom, you have any favorite chats?
Any chats?
Any good chats in here?
Yeah, I saw the kid Coman said, I hate alcohol. I think that's a pretty good, interesting chat.
What did that strike a nerve with you? Did that hit you somewhere?
I hate it. I hate alcohol. Oh. No, I mean, it is what it is.
Oh, my goodness.
I think there was a flurry of controversy around cannabis and alcohol, comparing the two. I think that can understand
chat.
why. Yeah.
We can do some more if we're not going to see questions. You guys can go in and ask us questions in chat. You can bring super chats in. We're going to spend a little bit of time engaging with you guys. I can do some other technical analysis as well, but I want to get some chat in here. What are your guys' thoughts? I know I got to ask Harry, and I know I said something about it. I want to see in chat, what are your guys' thoughts about the next bull market? I want to make sure, again, I think I said this, but anyone who watched what I talked about earlier and goes back and looks at the Cardano technical analysis, and I'm talking about the prediction that Dan makes, I want you guys to know I am not saying Dan is wrong. I'm saying, hey, if Dan is right, we're going to need to see a lot of aggressive things happen and a lot of money coming to space. And I'm just kind of giving a counter prediction of saying, here's a more realistic prediction. And if we can get some really good things to start rolling in the right direction, his $15 prediction on Cardano is absolutely possible this next bull market. I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm not that aggressive and bullish just yet. I'm going to need to see a lot of things change before I get that, but I do think $7 is a very realistic spot. What do you guys think in chat, though? Let us know. We did have a super chat just come in from Murray.
We have a couple.
Oh, we have a couple coming in.
Yeah,
There we go.
so I'm going to go ahead and do you guys the honor of reading these to you. So here we have from Murray Ruggiero says, can you help explain why ETH has been pumping better than Bitcoin lately? ETH looks ready to rip once the market turns around when Bitcoin looks flat.
A couple things here, a couple thoughts here, Murray. I like that question. The first one is Ethereum has always been that coin now, and when I say always, not always. For the last couple of years has been the coin that people are saying, is there a chance that Ethereum is the one that flips Bitcoin? Is there a chance that Bitcoin doesn't stay number one? And if so, Ethereum could be the one for that. You know, you do have fundamentals coming in with that final, after waiting for years, that final merge from proof of work to proof of stake. Ethereum just became a lot more attractive to people that are worried about environmental impacts. Now, of course, again, that's a very, very deep conversation. There's reasons to say that that's not really a very good argument. You also trade potential energy usage for centralization. But right now where we live in, and especially as we're looking at institutional money on the sidelines ready to come into space, I still think there's a fat amount of money sitting here waiting for Bitcoin. But don't negate the fact that some of that money might have slowly been switched into Ethereum's future because it is offering what people look at as a more environmentally friendly use case. Also, other than currency and value, Ethereum definitely has the lead on Bitcoin in terms of use case. Smay and I were talking about this the other day. You guys have seen a video before when we talked about Ethereum. The best way to explain this, you guys know I'm not a tech guy, but these layer one solutions are like building these really cool malls that you can come in and build stores in. And Ethereum had the lead. It has the biggest, coolest mall in the entire crypto space. Now, it's kind of expensive to set up storefront in there. There are some other cool ones developing like Cardano and Solana. They're working to build theirs as well. And maybe those smaller malls, like what Cardano's doing, have some cooler features than Ethereum. But Ethereum is really exciting because as much as it is the number, it's the number 2 crypto, it's still building a lot of things that are looking very good for people who love smart contracts, who love NFTs. It's still the king of the NFT space. And even though I'm not an NFT guy necessarily, those who are, and that's a very large amount of people, they still flood to the Ethereum space. A lot of companies and businesses are trusting Ethereum as they're starting to move into the Web3. They have a lot of layer 2s that are doing a lot of really cool things. So anytime one of their layer 2s really benefits, that benefits them as the layer 1. So the reason you're seeing Ethereum start to gain is because, first of all, it has a smaller market cap. It's easier for it to gain on Bitcoin. But secondly, right now is not the time where people are necessarily thinking about putting their money into store of value. As we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, there's a lot of uncertainty about what value looks like. What people do see what's cool about Ethereum is when they're wanting to build their businesses and they're wanting to build their smart contracts, they're looking for a great place to do so. Ethereum is still the top dog to do it. The question is, will other projects like Cardano be able to compete with them more down the road?
Yep. And if you go to my screen, I got a quick answer for you there. I've got Ethereum and I've got Bitcoin. Ethereum's on the top, Bitcoin's on the bottom. If you'll see, when did the merge happen? Because my short answer to that question is the merge. You can see here, Bitcoin's been kind of sideways and up a little bit more recently, but you're right. Ethereum has kind of trended up. And the short answer is just because there's a lot of optimism around the merge that only happened September 21st. We're less than a month out from that happening, less than 30 days out from that happening. So it's still reverberating in the market as people, grow in optimism around that occurrence. But there's other coins that are even more have an even more pronounced upward trend. Like Binance has a pretty upward trend. Atom in the similar time period had I guess it doesn't have as much of an upward trend. It has more of a long-term upward trend, but so it's not like Ethereum's leading the market in bullishness, but it is outpacing Bitcoin. And I'd say the short answer to that is largely due to the merge.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to the concept. It's going to be easier for smaller cap coins to move more because $1 million to them is a way bigger deal than $1 million to Ethereum or Bitcoin. But again, so if I put $1 million into Bitcoin and $1 million into Ethereum, there's going to be a bigger price movement on Ethereum. That's just because of the way the market cap works. And we'll talk more about that. That's something I've been doing a lot more. That's kind of like today what I did in technical analysis with going and looking at some bigger outlook stuff. I'm going to start talking about that a lot more in the future shows next couple of weeks, looking at some longer time frames. We'll still do some short time frame, what's happening over the next couple of days and month, TA. But I want to look at some longer time frame stuff too, looking at market caps, looking at what the future looks like, speculating, but also trying to look for evidence about what the next bull market holds. We're going to start talking a lot more about that because whether it comes here in November or whether we have to wait till sometime mid-year next year or whether we even have to wait all the way till 2024, there will be another bull market and the price will be moving up and to the right and it will set new all-time highs. The question is where and how, not if. So if you guys love that, give me a 1 in chat if you guys are excited about looking at some more longer time frame charts, and smash the like button if you are excited about that content coming very soon.
That's right, and we have another super chat, Tim.
Boom.
So I would like to do you guys the honor of reading it to you. We have here from K Money says they say the softer the better, but I myself believe a better medium is more long lasting.
I'm gonna have to read that. They say the softer the better, but I myself believe a better medium is more long lasting.
Very good. It's pretty self-explanatory. They say, I think it's talking about bets.
The softer the better, but I believe
you gotta go for a medium. He's talking about mattresses, dude.
Softer. I don't get it.
I believe the better medium is more long lasting.
Exactly. So you don't want something too soft. You want something that's
Money,
firm,
can you please comment? And I will look for tag me in it. Can you give me a little more explanation? I'm sure what your take. I'm sure it's a great take. I'm just confused on the context of it. When he said it, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
maybe like a soft landing, like the Fed.
Maybe?
No, I have a question. Or not question. I have a theory.
You have a theory.
My hypothesis is that he's talking about fiat currency, and that he says the people in charge think softer the better. But I myself believe in a better medium, so a little bit, not exactly Bitcoin level, but not exactly dollar level.
And Elliot Locke's been asking about NFTs. Anybody been checking out any NFT projects or anything?
Maybe Harry's been quiet here for the last little bit. Harry, have you been checking out stuff around the NFT space?
I haven't honestly looked at any new projects. Just been working on our current ones. But if I do find any, Elliot, I'll be the first one to let you know.
Can I say something about this?
You can.
You may.
I just wanted to give you a chance.
So actually, to be honest with you, it's not that I've been seeing a lot of NFT projects and the NFTs themselves, but what I have been seeing that's been really interesting to me is a lot of the big NFT artists like Beeple and them are working together, collaborating to create ways to display and integrate NFTs into daily physical life. So they're building a lot of different frames that are like digital frames that have the NFT, holographic NFT in it with a label, stuff like that. So that kind of stuff, that kind of innovation that helps kind of bring the blockchain into kind of the real life, merging it, I think is really fascinating, and I'm really excited to see how that evolves and how one day people will walk in their homes and their family pictures are going to be NFTs or something like that on the wall, digitized, so. Fascinating.
Well, exactly like you said, there's one company called Metasil that actually does that now. It's incorporated it's hooked to the blockchain, so you actually have to own the NFT to present it, and it shows little details that are on it. I guess I like somebody was saying, it's going to be really, really cool to see that here in the future. And, like Elliot and them were saying with Cardano, NFTs, I wish I was more versed in them. However, since some of the issues with the Cardano network as of right now, I haven't been able to dive in as much time, but I will be at Bermuda Tech Week in about 2.5 weeks here. And I think Charles is actually going to be there. I'll have to see, but if I find any cool projects or anything along those lines, I will definitely you guys will be the first to know. The only thing I have now is Reverse, which is a Web3 Comic-Con that starts tomorrow. And if anybody's interested, please feel free to just look in my link tree.
Well, down below. Link
awesome.
down below.
Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let Harry go. We're gonna do some more technical analysis, and then we're gonna be announcing our HODL Trophy winners here in just a couple of minutes. But Harry, thank you once again for joining us today. Get used to it. Every now and then Fridays we'll have no Harry, but more often than not, Harry will always be here on Fridays to give us his phenomenal takes on the crypto space. Make sure you guys, real quick, before we let him go follow him right now. Harry has a Twitter channel, and you still running YouTube?
I am running a YouTube, but it's going to be completely overhauled. So it's still probably about 6 months behind. But I was going to try to get a whole new one where I could just be like a little feedback layer for you guys and other channels.
Yep.
But it'll be growing here soon.
I love that. I mean, I love you having you on. Love having you on here every single week. But make sure you guys follow him over on Twitter. It's the Crypto Vet, and he goes his at symbol is at CryptoVet_. So if you guys do not follow him already, make sure you guys go do that right now. Harry, we'll see you next week. We cut him off first? Okay, well, yeah, let's do this. We're gonna be announcing our winners here in just a couple of minutes, but let's go check back over on the charts and see what is happening since we were doing some technical analysis this morning.
I'd like to clarify, I did not mute him.
You did not mute him?
No, I didn't.
What? He just cut off. Really?
Because people are gonna think I'm a bad guy because I did it. What I
did
didn't
you
I do?
bully Crypto Vet, Smay?
No, because didn't I do this?
guy.
I did this to Kelly yesterday, so I'm just noting that I did not do it today.
Yeah,
I love and respect for Harry.
I've got a quick chart to show whenever we get a second.
Yeah, here, let me run through a couple of these coins here. Real quickly, Bitcoin, it looks like things have like paused since we did technical analysis earlier. I'm pretty sure this is the exact same spot that we left it when we were doing technical analysis, and I did a brief amount of stuff. But you guys are seeing when we go to these smaller time frames, this is the 15-minute chart right here. Almost exactly what I was talking about. Hitting that range of support has caused us to kind of move a little sideways now. Not that it's impossible to come down deeper again. I don't want to give anyone any false hope that says, oh, we hit the bottom on a hit support and we're about to rally back up above 20,000. But it does look like that zone, again, was strong for support. So keep your eyes there on what's happening. If we cannot hold these levels, again, look at the levels. If we start to see bearish action again, look at what happens around 19,300. There's going to be some strong support there. If not, if we don't hold there's a good chance that we might cancel out this ascending triangle, and that's a lot more bearish action moving forward. But right now, there is plenty of reason to say nothing has changed. Everything is according to plan. Bullish action is still coming. Let's look at a couple other charts that we didn't even get to look at this morning. Again, we looked at Ethereum and Cardano, but let's look at DOT real quickly. DOT is continuing to trade within its channel. Let me go to the hourly chart, giving a little more information here, or a little bit of a zoom out here. We're continuing to change in this ascending triangle. Again, this formation is bearish. So let's watch what's happening here. But as long as we stay above this $6 on DOT, I believe there still is a very strong bottom going on for DOT in the same way that 18,000 is working that way for Bitcoin, 40 cents is working that way for Cardano. And there's a grouping of these coins that I believe if we can catch some momentum, they could actually outpace the rest of the space. Now, I'm going to show you guys really quickly. This will be the last thing I'll talk about today, and then I'll go ahead and throw it to T-Shroom, and we'll announce our HODL Trophy winner as well. But notice when I run through a couple of these coins, Bitcoin, for example, we're back down to lows that we had back in June. June, of course, is the big low for almost every altcoin out there. Ethereum is one of the ones that actually now is setting up higher zones. We had this bottom zone back here in June and July, but right now we are hovering well above that. And so not saying that Ethereum is going to slow down. I'm just saying that a coin like Ethereum has actually already had a little bit of a rally going, and could we see some of these coins that were lagging behind catch back up? Cardano is just like Bitcoin, where it's back down hovering at those flat bottoms it had back in June. XRP is one of the ones like Ethereum that has rallied up a little higher, but of course, now you're starting to deal with a little bit of suppression in XRP. Could we potentially break through this ascending triangle in XRP and start heading back up towards this red line? I already talked about DOT. Link is another project that is not hovering now down near its support. It's on its way back up. Is that a coin that, again, continues this momentum, or does it slow down and wait for some of these others to catch back up? I'll go ahead and pause right there. You got to tune in next week, and I'll be doing some technical analysis on a lot more altcoins throughout the shows and the afternoon videos. T-Shroom, really quickly, did you have a chart you want to show everybody before we announce our HODL Trophy winner?
Yes, I do. I've got two charts I want to show you guys. We are a crypto channel, but energy is very important, especially as oil prices are high around the world. So if you go to my screen, Smay, I've actually got the oil ETF pulled up. And as you can see, oil is really coming back up on the Fibonacci levels. It went down and tapped this 0.38, but now it's tapping on the door of the golden pocket here. And if it can flip that resistance as support and go higher, then you could potentially see a run up back to all-time highs of 66% increase from here. So you could potentially snatch a 66% gain over a period of time. If you've been tracking the OPEC story, they did cut supply. And if you know what that means, that's great. I don't have time to get into that. But also on the natural gas side, also been a very important story globally. You can see here that it's dropped down through the golden pocket here, and it has actually trended lower, gone lower, and now it's down here. Why is that? Well, it has a lot to do with things going on in Europe, but essentially that could also have a run up eventually once it starts to confirm a bottom, which it might be doing here, as you can see. It's kind of come down here and formed a little bit of a bottom similar to what it's done back here. But if I draw up and see the percentage potential gain here, it is 140% potential back up to the all-time high, or to the local high here, and that is natural gas, the ticker symbol BOIL. That is a leveraged ETF, so trade with it what you will. But I'm always keeping an eye on energy, because energy is so important right now, and it trickles into inflation. The higher price in energy goes, the higher inflation goes. And that obviously takes a domino effect with the rest of the way that the Fed thinks. So that's your little energy update here on Friday. The optimism here is there's a lot of potential upside for energy right now, so you can hedge. Any losses you might incur from an upside to energy, you could hedge that by buying it. So just a thought.
Yeah. Very, very good take there. It is, though, 11:25, and it's time to announce our HODL Trophy winners. Good show today. Here's the thing. First of all, it's a very easy win for T. Shroom today, because his prediction of 20,000 was the lowest. Smay had a very slim chance when he predicted 20,500, and I went on the over. Risked it. I was off. It didn't get the momentum that I was hoping we could get to end the week out. So T. Shroom is back in the win column. What is that for you? This is now win number 4 for T. Shroom.
So I'm gaining on Smay. Almost
you are
one away from Smay.
The current scoreboard is Tim has 8 wins, Smay has 5, and T. Shroom now with 4 wins. But even more important, let's go look at who this week's winner was for our community. Shout out really quickly to Jennifer Barton. Yes, I have the note. I'm writing them down now so I don't forget these.
Maybe she won again. We'll see.
Jennifer Barton is the reigning champion. Let's see if we have a repeat. And I don't think so. But I'm going to go over here. You go to my screen here, Smay. This is the comment sections for our community predictors. And remember, to enter to win, you had to A, put your price, and then B, you had to comment with BTC. And if you had prediction, or if you just leave BTC, that is fine. Let's go ahead and scroll through here. We had a lot of entries this week and see who is the closest. So currently, with Bitcoin, looking at the current price is 19,570. Let's go 75 is what I saw. 575. All right. Nobody was within $5 this week. Our front runner would be, at this point, let's start off with the normal Austin's back in at 19,900. Let's see if anyone else can get closer. So here's go. Normal Austin's been a winner before. Trey Caramonta's been a winner before, but we still have the leaders, the normal Austin. Boring week for crypto. A little off there. No, Shoba, Team Tim. Well, someone said Team Tim, but their price was Pew Pew Poom too. That was not on Team Tim. Thanks for the support.
It was just like a moral thing, just a moral support for you.
All right, here's an interest right here. I think this is the front runner. Knowledge is Deep predicted 19,675. We said it was at 575, so he is literally $100 away. That is the front runner right there. So remember, Knowledge is Deep. He is the front runner as we continue to scroll. Ooh, here we go. Nope, we got a new front runner. 19,500 from 151crypto.com, and that's not dot with a period. That's spelled out dot. He is our current leader. He is $75 away from the final price. Let's see if anyone can beat that. Here we go. Someone said 100K. I don't know if that was a prediction or if that was just a different comment. That is definitely not going to take the lead there. Keep scrolling as we keep going through here. It is looking like we're gonna have that final winner. I can't remember the exact name, but .com. We're gonna need to beat within $75. Nope, 1980. Okay, so that is the winner. Let's scroll back up. What was his name again? It was
Crypto.com, right?
Yeah, 151crypto.com is this week's HODL trophy winner. And there's a little bit of a twist this week. I told you guys some exciting stuff was happening. From here on out, our first winner of a free month-long membership to Club DeFi is 151crypto.com. We're going to be doing a lot more giveaways on the channel here coming very soon because we got some cool stuff coming out. For example, every single week from here on out, the winners of the HODL Trophy, they will get a month free on Crypto.com. And every single time...
Crypto.com or Club DeFi even?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was saying his name. Club DeFi.
We can't offer that, guys. Sorry.
Make sure you reach out to our support at CryptoJebb.com to claim that winner. But also, every single time that we get over 1,000 concurrent on our live stream, we will actually be giving away a free merch item. And you guys have seen those before. Really quickly, we're working to change all of this stuff over to Coffee and Crypto. But I'm going to go show this merch site once again. And things will be added here in the future. But right now, you could come over here and claim yourself a Smay the Ladder shirt, a Smayatang versus Crypto Beard throwback.
Nice.
Of course, some newer merch coming out here as well with Coffee and Crypto branding going on. Hashtag FinSov. What I love about these ones, I'm just going to go and show you guys my favorite one so far. The favorite one I have is this FinSov shirt, but I actually love these other colors we got going on. This navy, even this little cream color right here. I don't know if that's the exact name of it.
That's like my hoodie's color.
I'm loving those colors. If you guys want to win this, make sure you guys come in every single day and keep our current high. Every single time we have 1,000 current, somebody in the comment section will win free merch. And if you guys want to purchase this today, you can right now go to CryptoJebb.com and you'll see the Coffee and Crypto branding. Go to Shop All and you can collect and look at all the different options right here.
Do we offer hoodies, Tim?
We need to. That is definitely needing to come very soon.
Well, that's coming soon, guys.
Yeah, very soon we will have hoodies on here as well. By the way, it's cooling down here in Florida.
It is. That's why I was asking.
Mornings have been very nice.
I've been wearing lots of hoodies.
Very, very nice. Well, guys, that is all we have for you in today's episode. If you loved this episode, make sure to go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And if you have not already, hit that notification bell because that way you will not miss a single piece of content that we put out to help you guys continue to accomplish financial sovereignty. Also, make sure, this is a really, really big one. I want to continue to grow this channel and to do the things that help you guys the best that I can, but I can't do that without your help. Make sure to comment below every single video, not just in the live chat, but comment below to let us know how we're doing and any way that we can continue to improve your experience here so that we can serve you guys the best we can. With that said, though, that's all we have for you in this video. And Smay, you can go ahead and play the outro.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.